today we're very excited to walk you through EXP Explained. Everything from the basics, where we talk about the commission split and the money you're going to take home and what's a cap, all the way to co-sponsorship and how to leverage the platform to unlock financial freedom.
Yeah, from EXP 1.0 to EXP 2.0, which you may have heard, and we're going to unravel what that really looks like in your business and how you can become aligned with what we're doing here at EXP. So let's start right off with the cap. So share with us the capping models you're used to, what's out there, and what they can experience here at EXP.
Absolutely. So what's unique about EXP's model? There are many things, but one of the things is you're only going to pay in $16,000 and then you cap. So agents will always say, what's the split? Well, the split is 80-20, but what really is meaningful is that once you pay in $16,000, then you cap.
Yeah, it is alarming and amazing to me how many agents are making very good money. Their GCI is 300, 500,000, even more, and there's no cap. And that's usually my first conversation. I'm like, wow, that's an amazing year, Keri. And where do you cap? And there's just like this blank face, like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean where do I cap?
Yeah.
And when I've sat with them, it's like they're paying six figures to that brokerage.
Yeah.
And then I'm asking, well, what are you getting back? Are you getting an assistant? Are they paying for all your direct mail? And usually it's just, I have a cool logo.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
And the leads, like, are you getting leads? Well, no, right? It's wild. Actually, funny personal story. So the reason I moved from my first brokerage when I got in the business is my accountant said, you're paying too much money, and I didn't have a cap. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, it is amazing. So for simplicity, if you make 80,000 or more, you're going to cap out in this model. And here's what's phenomenal. So because there's not all these brick and mortars for EXP, because they don't have all this overhead, not only can they take that $16,000, but they're going to actually give half of it back out. So they're going to take in $16,000 as EXP. Then they're going to take $8,000 of that and share it back with everyone who helped create what it is and what it's going to be in the future. So when you're looking at your financials, you need to ask that question. The simple question is, as I continue to sell and do well and be productive in real estate, how much am I paying that broker every single year? And so that's our challenge, is go back the last 3 years and see, what did you pay the last 3 years each year to the brokerage? And like you were saying, what did you get out of it?
Right.
Right. And that is a huge eye-opening thing when you're looking at different brokerages, where to go and why not to stay where you are. And usually right now, you're probably getting that itch, right? Why else would I move? Sure, the cap is one thing, figuring out where your money goes. But the other thing is, as you're creating something new, or naturally, so Keri, I'm sure for you, you were at different brokerages, people liked you. They weren't part of your team or company. They're just like, I like being around Keri, and maybe just in the general office, we get to have more fun together. So that natural attraction in your other brokerages, what did that do for you?
Well, I was at Keller Williams, James was too, and so I remember hearing about how they had this amazing profit share program, right? And I was recruiting a lot of agents to the Keller Williams. It didn't pay for my Starbucks coffee. So it didn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, I did have the fancy coffee. But in reality, regardless of being successful at recruiting agents to my team and recommending the brokerage, it really didn't do anything for me financially.
Yeah. And do you know why that is?
Yeah. Because it was profit share.
Yeah.
So can you explain the difference between profit share and revenue share? Because a lot of people don't understand it. And if you're watching this and you don't, that's okay. That's why we're here today.
Yeah. Well, we like to say that there's three of them. Most people don't even know that. The first one is no share. Second one is profit share. And the third one is revenue share. So the no share is the typical model. So your license is underneath a brokerage, and the only one that makes money is that broker, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe someone else there at the company, right? So as you attract, and as Keri attracted, nothing would happen, right? That's the no share. Then there's the profit share.
Right.
Now here's the challenge of that, especially if you have a network across the country, you may be able to control what happens in that micro office where you are, right? But you can't control if I recruit somebody to in Florida, in Nebraska. You have no idea what's going on. They could sell 100 homes and that profit share could be zero.
Right.
I even experienced it where they redid a whole office. Well, that's thousands and thousands of dollars. There's not going to be profit share for years.
Well, and so let me just frame that for a second. Let's imagine that the office, the revenue is $1 million. What James is pointing out is you're not in control of how they spend that $1 million, and you're only making money off of the profit. So in his example, if they renovate the office and they spend $500,000 and they have amazing furniture, that doesn't impact you because you're in a different state, but you're still not making profit share because they've decided to spend that money. And they're even training the franchise owners to do it that way, because if they have a big year, they say, hey, you should invest in training, you should invest in marketing, you should invest in growth, and then that's impacting your bottom line and your ability to share in the profit. So then can you explain revenue share?
Well, not just a big year. Like, it's because the nice thing is profit share and revenue share get paid out monthly, right? So they could have a big month and they could say, well, let's just slide these items over here. Let's slide this profit over here. So my experience has been that in a profit share model, it can be good, but the problem is it's restrictive because there's so many other expenses that take it away.
Right.
The fun thing about revenue share is no one can hide that line. There's no moving it over. There's not moving a comma or anywhere. In the revenue share model, if you bring on an agent and they actually sell homes, there is revenue. There's nothing that prevents it. So remember the cap that Keri shared earlier of that 16,000, 8,000 of that gets shared. And as long as that agent is selling 6 figures plus, they're going to cap out no matter where they are. And the exciting part about that is there's no delay. There's no fuse to wonder, well, will they pay out? Will they not? What does it look like? Because every month we get an opportunity to see it.
Right.
And here's what I want you to think about is a lot of people think, oh, well, I would never go to EXP because it's a pyramid and everybody else gets paid. Well, but let's think about that. No share, profit share, rev share. You could be at a traditional brokerage and the only one that's making money is that broker, right? Which is great. If you like them, if you love them, if you want to help buy more expensive cars and houses for them, fantastic. But you don't get rewarded. And what's fun is at EXP, they flipped it, right? To where anyone that helps create that synergy to bring that business alignment in EXP 2.0, you get to profit together with, frankly, with them paying less money. Yeah. That's what's fun is when Keri and I sit down with people, we show them the structure, they end up paying less money, pocketing more, and whoever helps bring them together to this new vision gets to experience in the profit as well. And so that's the fun thing about revenue share. So as you're thinking through that, we simply want you to think about this. Yes, you can sell 5 more homes. You can sell 10 more homes next year. But what can you do outside of that where you're not doing anything extra and the money just comes to you simply because you want to work with and together with people that you already like? And that's a fun thing. So the question we want you to take back to wherever you are right now is at that brokerage, how many people have you been responsible for? Just simple attraction. And I know for Keri, for you, as many years, like multiple people that would come just because they wanted to be around you, but there was no one profit or no share at all to be there. No. And I think that's why we both found our home here at EXP to know that we could profit from that.
Right. And also, when you think about alignment, EXP is successful when the agents are successful. And so I was having a conversation with Leo, our CEO, the other day, and we were talking about in most other broker models, they're not actually in business partnership with you because they're profiting off of training you too. Where at EXP, EXP gives away their training. It's free. And they have incredible trainers because there's alignment. So James and I are currently working with agents that have been at EXP for 20 years, or actually 8 years, but they've been in the business for 20 years. And some of them have been in the business for 20 days, right? Since the program started, they're brand new, and we're contributing our time because of different incentives that EXP has. And one is we're business owners in EXP. We own shares of EXP, and so we're committed to the growth of those agents. Where if you're in a more traditional model, there's really no incentive for the top agents in an organization to give back. So do you want to share a little bit about how the ICON program works and why there's such significant contribution from agents at EXP?
Yeah, keeping that common thread of the education It was crazy because I've been at other brokerages where they've said, okay, this person is going to teach you how to do X, open houses, direct mail, whatever it is. And you go through the program, you sit down in the education class and find out that was 5 sales they made. 5 sales, and they have them up on stage. So here's what's fun about EXP is they don't do it that way. They pull from their icons, which are people that are capping every year, plus giving back. And that's part of the Fast Cap series or whatever it is that's out there, where their top producers at EXP are actually saying, this is my blueprint. This is how you can be successful and align with me for a higher purpose and for your own business as well. And here's what's fun is when I look back and I said, okay, we're a family business, right? We've been around for 40 years. When my mother was there, we were at Remax. We were Remax for 20 years, right? But never had any revenue in it, right? It never had any stocks from it. We were at Keller Williams for 10 years. Didn't see anything back from that either. So here's the question for you is whatever brokerage you're at now, 10 years from now, how much equity within the company will you have? And that was a mind blown to me of, I was there for 10 years and I never got it because why? In a franchise model, there's only really 3 that make money and there's no equity within it at the time. So that's what's fun about EXP is as you grow it, you actually get equity within it. And as you continue to sell homes, you get it as well. And you can't find that in other places.
Absolutely not. And the other piece, when we go to the training and education, it's about a productivity per agent. So something that I find really fascinating about EXP's model, because they have the Icon program, and with the Icons, they give that $16,000 back for contribution, they're taking the top out of 90,000 agents, and those are the people that are pouring into everyone in the organization and impacting retention and success. It's become the most productive brokerage in the world, and we're growing into other countries every single day. So the opportunity, once in a while I hear people say, you know, is it too late? Did I miss the boat? Right? We all said that at one time.
Yeah, of course you did.
So if you're watching this today, the fact of the matter is we're just getting started.
Yeah. Well, in the vision, I mean, we don't want to date this, but roughly we're under 100,000, and the vision is that we'll carry to over 250, over 300,000 agents. So no, you didn't miss anything. Yeah. And there's a great opportunity. Here's another way to think about it. In your local market, how big is it? And we found that in the DMV, it wasn't big, and there was a huge opportunity there. So don't just think about when the company was founded, it's when it is actually going to take off, not only in your market, but also globally, like you just mentioned, which brings us up to thinking about EXP 2.0, and sometimes you felt maybe stuck, or like, where would it be, or I can't find the right one. Here's a crazy one. I've had a lot of people that have told me that, you know, well, I went to EXP originally for this, but maybe I'm not getting fulfilled with what I wanted. And we just want to call that out, that you may have the opportunity to look at it differently, right? You may be someone, quote unquote, pitched you about EXP years ago. Yeah. So Keri, let's talk through that. What are some of the unique differences, right? So it was revolutionary. It still is with what Glenn set up, right? Where they're going to give you equity in the company. People aren't doing that, right? They're going to actually give you revenue. If someone sells a home, you get paid, right? Which is also revolutionary. And then a cap model, right? To where you know your expenses every year and you can control that. So fast forward to today, let's share with them some of the new things that they're going to see.
There are so many. One thing I want to say about what you just pointed out, EXP is also profitable.
Yeah.
So the stability and security of being on I was going to say ship, but I mean, be more descriptive, a barge, like a fighter or something, I don't know, that has stability in very rough waters. If you're like many agents, it's been a shaky time. Yeah. And you want to align yourself with a ship that is moving in a really clear direction that has vision and is stable, right? Yeah. And so when you think about EXP 2.0, the thing that I think is most exciting, they've made it easier to unlock revenue opportunities. And this is something I think having us really describe how revenue share works would be helpful, so you have a clear vision. We'll probably do that on a board and really get into the nitty gritty, but they've made it so you can unlock that opportunity to earn revenue easier. And they've made it so that even if you recruit one person, 2 people, you're starting to experience creating that revenue immediately. So one of the most innovative, amazing things about EXP 2.0 is co-sponsorship. And it's really about incredible collaboration. So do you want to just describe a little bit about what's shifted with that?
Well, I think it could be confusing for many, because then you're like, well, do other people have it? What does it look like? It's not division, it's multiplication. And here's the fun thing. I actually just recently did it. So we already had someone in Florida with a small team that was coming on. And they had already had business alignment with Keri and myself. They were going to come into EXP. And I said, well, wait a second. I know that they want to focus on this expertise. So rather than just signing up underneath our line, I said, you know what, let's look at co-sponsorship. So here's what's fun. Not only do they get access to us and business alignment, they also now have extra expertise in that where they can grow their business at a higher level than they ever would have before. So think of EXP as this platform. And think of all the players on the board like a chess game where you can maneuver and you can link up or co-sponsor with anyone that you want for reaching that higher level. And that's the fun thing about it. So when you're thinking about co-sponsorship, think who has the expertise that I really want, and perhaps who's local. So one of the things that drives Keri and I is, okay, well, you're going to be in South Dakota. Well, in South Dakota, we're going to be limited in DC. So who do we know that's local that also can help you achieve at the highest level? So it's really fun putting all the pieces together. Speaking of the pieces together, the pushback we get a lot of times is, okay, well, they're so profitable because they don't have brick and mortar.
Right.
What's the solution that if they don't have an office, how is EXP handling that?
So I think that this is awesome that we're talking about it, because for a lot of agents, if you actually think about it, you don't like going to your office anyway. You only go there to get the printer.
Especially if you have traffic.
Yeah. And so a lot of people just don't go to the office. But let's imagine that you do want an office. You want that kind of access. There are tons of teams at EXP that have office space. And so people have what we're calling hubs. And you can look for someone local that has an office space that you can work out of the office, or Regus, right? So this is one of the smartest things EXP ever did. They aligned with Regus, and there's Reguses all over the world, and you can go for free with your EXP app and go to any Regus you want to work at anywhere. We have multiple in this area, and it's just a really easy way to not have it suck resources, but to have all of the advantages of the office space.
Yeah, all of the access without the cost, and being able to leverage that local alignment. Plus, like you said, with Regus, they've made a lot of smart moves within EXP, and that's probably one of the biggest ones where they technically have spaces all throughout the country, and they're not really paying for them, and you aren't either. That's why there's actually revenue to be shared. And speaking of that, we talked about the tiered system, what that can look like, quote unquote, unlocking the levels, and that can be very confusing. And so we wanted to bring on another expert that's within our line, and we want to bring on Dan Lesniak to come out and help you understand what's the difference between 5 levels and 7 levels. And when you get into the weeds, it can kind of blow your mind about what makes one unique versus the other. So Dan, come on.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're looking at the advantage you have with revenue share. And you've done really well at EXP, just bringing people together and what that can look like. So can you explain the difference between 5 levels and 7 levels and why it even matters?
Yeah, so a lot of other competing companies that came in, years after EXP wanted to go to 5 levels instead of 7. With 7, you're obviously going to make a lot more money down the road, right? So over time, if you build out a big 5th line, they're obviously going to build out a 6th line, which is going to build out a 7th line. And there's large groups at EXP where half of the members, I'm talking 10,000, 15,000 people, like size groups, where half of the members are on the 6th and 7th line. So if you were at one of those copycat models, you would lose half of those people in your revenue share. So that's a lot of money to give up down the road.
So in the 5 levels, who keeps the 6th and 7th line? Where's that profit go?
I guess the company probably, or
just rolls back to the company as opposed to the people that are supporting it. Now, 2.0 versus 1.0 EXP. So one of the fun things they did was unlock different levels. And I don't think people really understand what that means, because on a technicality, if you didn't recruit X amount of people, you couldn't go to 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So can you explain how that works and how EXP 2.0 just gives even more opportunity to everyone?
Yeah, so in the old system, the original system, which worked for over a decade, you had to unlock 5 people to get your 2nd level, 10 to get to the 3rd. And these are, by the way, frontline qualified agents. So these are agents that you've sponsored on your front line that are doing, like 5,000 of gross commission in the last 6 months, right? So not a huge hurdle for most agents. So yeah, the old model was 5 FLQA would get you the second level, and the next 5 would get you to level 3, then 15 would get you to level 4, 20 would get you to level 5, 25 would get you to level 6, and then to get to level 7, they really wanted to set it up, in the early days to reward the people that grew the company. To get that 7th level, you had to get 40 FLQA, which is a pretty big number for most agents, especially if they're still selling homes. And EXP has become the brokerage where big agents, productive agents go. The Real Trends list just came out for this year, and I think there were over 1,000 EXP agents on that list.
Wow.
So the company wanted to incentivize the agents that were coming over, attracting through production, weren't running like mini brokerages or weren't 100% focused on recruiting. So they made it a lot easier, right? So in RevShare 2.0, everybody gets the first 3 levels unlocked.
Wow. So before you would have had to have 15 people to get to all 10. 3 unlocked, 10. And now you don't need to have attracted
any. Now you get the first 3 levels. Once you sponsor 5 FLQA, you get level 4. 10 gets you level 5, 15 gets you level 6, and then 30 gets you level 7. So there's still that reward for the big recruiters. And then they added another enhancement to make it even easier for producing agents. So anyone that caps, right, if you cap out, right, you do your 80,000 GCI, paid 16 to the company, you get 5 levels unlocked for the next 12 months. If you icon, right, which there's 2 ways to earn icon, you can cap out and then do 20 more deals, or you can hit 500,000 in GCI in 1 year. Right? If you icon, you get all 7 levels unlocked for the next 12 months. Yeah. So a lot of changes to make it easier to get paid on more levels sooner.
Yeah. Wow.
It's mind-blowing, right?
It is. Yeah. Well, and I don't think you really can appreciate it unless you've seen the numbers, what it looks like, and so there is some intimidation for how long it could take. And we talked about earlier that maybe you missed the boat. Like EXP's been around long enough that you had to get in early and you missed it. Can you share, I know you know the numbers, can you share about revenue share and some of the highest paid people that are attracting, how long they've been at the company? Because a lot of people are thinking, well, it was founded years ago, so if I wasn't in 15 years ago or 12 years ago, I missed out.
Yeah, there's people that have been there 5, 6 years, that kind of range, that are making well over $100,000 a month in revenue share. The largest groups are those people. Some of them are making several $100,000 a month, $500,000 a month, and it's not like they've been there for 20, 30 years. The company's only been around for about 13 years. So there's people that have been there for less than a decade that are making multi-millions a year in revenue share.
Well, and let's talk about something that comes to people automatically, which is stock, right? And equity within the company. And we were talking about how you could be at a company for 20 years and have 0. And even as you're doing production, what's fun is how EXP rewards you in a couple different ways. Can you share how that looks like within the stock structure?
Yeah, so there's 5 ways that EXP agents can get stock. 4 of them are free. The 5th way is at a discount. 3 are production related. So when you do your first deal every year, you get $200 in stock. When you cap out each year, you get another $400. If you hit icon, which we talked about that earlier, 2 different ways to make it. You can cap out and then do 20 more deals, or you can do $500,000 in GCI. If you do that, you get $16,000 that year. On the recruiting side, every time you sponsor an agent, when they do their first deal, you get $400. And then everyone at the company can sign up for the Agent Equity Incentive Program. Yeah. That gives you the ability to roll 5% of your commission and buy stock at a 5% discount. So it's like trading $19 for a $20 bill.
Yeah, it's amazing. You get that discount, and you can turn it off and on every month. That's what's crazy is I can decide, you know what, maybe next month's going to be a little bit slower. I want all the money coming in. I can just turn it off for next month, right? So within the stock and what you're seeing, here's the pushback we get from everybody. Oh, well, that's just real estate stock. It's not worth anything. Can you share a little bit about how the stock compares with other companies and how they should see it forecasted?
Yeah, they're one of the largest publicly traded real estate brokerages. There's people that have been there early on that have made millions just from their Icon Awards at $16,000 a year. And when you look at the financials of the company, they're profitable. They've got no debt. They've got cash flow, and they pay a dividend every quarter.
Yeah. Keri, you had mentioned it to me off camera, and you had talked about how some people over the last couple of years had used their stock, which they didn't even know existed, right? They weren't tracking it. Dan tracks. Dan don't track it.
Yeah.
But there's some agents that they've just been here for a couple of years. They never tracked it, but then they used it for even personal matters. Without mentioning the name, can you share one of those
I'm
stories?
going to share a name. So my friend
Share the
Debbie
name.
from New York, and Debbie, I'm talking about you. When I first came to EXP, I'm walking down the hall and you're like the new kid. You're seeing all these people you haven't seen for years. And she started telling me just how amazing EXP has been for their life. And she was not like Dan. She was not tracking. And she said she went to an EXP event and she'd been there for like 3 years or something. And everyone was saying, hey, Debbie, you need to check to see what your stock is worth. And when she checked, it was enough to pay off all of their student loans, all of their debt, and buy them an extra house. And it wasn't even money that she thought was there. And so I think when you guys were talking about revenue share, we're talking about big numbers, but I want to focus on the people that are brand new and the achievable numbers that are in your future quickly, that you don't have to do anything that you're not already doing and you can have right away. So you're going to get the stock just by doing deals. And if you were doing deals anywhere else, you wouldn't, right? But you'll also start seeing revenue quickly. And so people are paying for their car payment. They're paying their student loans. All of a sudden they're paying their mortgage. And that's happening to agents that we know that are all around us every single day. And so what I would tell you, if you fall into the category that I fell into, and you've ever said, I'll never think about EXP, now it's 2.0.
Yeah.
Now it's time to really look at this and really consider the numbers, because for some of us, we didn't do that. And then when we did, it was like, oh my gosh, this is why I'm seeing all these really productive team leaders and really productive solo agents all gravitating towards EXP right now.
Yeah, it's amazing how people are catching on and seeing that it's truly a platform. And they can run any and every business that they want, right? They can have mortgage, they can have title, they can have insurance, anything they want without boundaries, and you can get that here at EXP. That's why so many it's amazing how we've seen so many top producers just in the local DC market come over in just the last year.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about co-sponsorship, and so it can be a little bit confusing. So there's a primary, and then there's a co-sponsor, and how it links up. So in 2.0, Dan, can you share what that looks like? Because it does make a difference in who you choose and why, and who ends up where.
Yeah, the co-sponsorship opportunity at EXP is unlike any of the other ones that are out there. Most of those are based on a system where if someone picks two sponsors, then the rev share is split 50-50. And then, that would happen on every line too, potentially. So then you end up getting something on your fifth line that counts as like one.
Can't pay for that Starbucks you talked about earlier.
Starbucks is out of reach.
Yeah, so that system, I think, it's really confusing and just really dilutes your revenue share. With the way EXP did it, there's a primary sponsor, right? So you pick your primary sponsor, and then within 5 days of onboarding, you can pick your co-sponsor. So here's how they do that. The co-sponsor basically takes a spot in between the sponsor and the agent that's joining. The co-sponsor is going to get paid on all 7 levels the full amount. They're also going to get the first year bonus on that agent's production, which could be up to $4,000 a year. The primary sponsor gets levels 2 through 7. So they lost one level, right? But now they've got other people to collaborate, help support that agent grow, so they're probably going to end up having more success. The primary sponsor also gets the FLQA status, and they get the Agent Attraction Stock Award, the $400 once that agent does their first deal in EXP stock. The upline of the co-sponsor does not receive revenue share from it, but the upline of the primary sponsor does. So that's how they made the math work.
Yeah, and what I've heard shared is the primary line that you choose, like you said, who gets paid up and above it, is based on pretty much who really attracted you to EXP and who you would choose no matter what. And then we were talking about the co-sponsor is usually an expertise or maybe a local company or team that could really support them, boots on the ground and what that could look like. So we're excited. We're excited about co-sponsorship.
Huge.
And there's a lot of questions. And we never hesitate to reach out to us to learn more of what that can look like. And it's been fun. Like we've been interweaving with other agents around the country and what that can look like to truly give the best value. And I think that's what's fun about it. EXP I've been impressed in just the last 2 years of how do they add value? What does it look like? What can they give for free? And basically just give away to show higher value, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe we can share a little bit more about that for each of us. Like, what's some other ways that it's just shown you extra value?
So for me, I've always been really big on being in the room with people I can learn from. And EXP provides the platform for us to come together and mastermind with some of the top coaches and leaders in the world. Yeah. And the brain power when we get together is just absolutely incredible. And that is one thing, when I was watching all of my friends start going to EXP, they would get together and I would think, what are they learning that I'm missing out on?
Yeah.
That's real, you're missing out. And so it's something to consider. A lot of people are paying to be in these coaching programs, and EXP, that's all part of it. And then we're getting together on a monthly basis. And we're masterminding with Leo, and we're masterminding with John Cheplack. And so that is absolutely huge for someone like me.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Funny enough, Keri and I both go to those events, and I went to the first one of this last year, and you couldn't make it, and then I couldn't make it to the second one, and we're both firing back texts like, you won't believe what we just found out, and what EXP's doing now, and what you can leverage right away. Yeah. It was even funny. She's like, hey, aren't you paying for this? Because EXP now has it for free. I was like, what?
That was lofty. So that's new. That's actually a really innovative, smart thing that they're doing. All agents have different opinions about their CRM, right? So EXP is the first brokerage to come out with CRM of choice. Wow. Yeah. Give the agents the power to choose. And when I was hearing it, I know James is spending a fortune on Lofty, and I said, hey, EXP's taking care of the bill for you. So they'll find a way. They're doing the same thing with Follow Up Boss. If you're a team leader and you're hearing this, we know Follow Up Boss is expensive. They're dramatically cutting my bill every single month, and then they have 2 other CRMs that you get to choose for free. So those are the kind of things that they don't stop. We didn't even ask for that. No one said, hey, we want more free CRMs to choose from. And they stepped up to the plate, and they just keep adding Canva.
Yeah, new since we've been here. Canva, and then luxury. So, okay, we want to address this. The elephant in the room is, well, it's EXP. It's not luxury. You can't get luxury listings because of that. And we hear that. We still hear that today. Yeah. Although I love when they said the new logo was broken out of the box. So let's talk about how EXP had leveraged luxury, and even what Leo did with the luxury branding. Can you share about that, Dan?
Yeah, so we added a program at EXP where if you qualify, and it's not too hard to qualify, you can sign up for it. It's an extra fee, and you get access to luxury masterminds weekly, luxury agent referral network, a whole new set of marketing and branding tools that are gold and black and look great. You get a presentation creator, which we've used a lot. Where
it's powerful.
You can pop in the address of the house and put the picture in, and then it shows it how they're going to syndicate it into over 15 rich people magazines, basically is what I call them, like Rob Report, Wall Street Journal, Management Global.
Barron's,
over 15 of those, almost 200, I believe, international MLS type feeds. So they're gonna get that home in front of international buyers and get you the tools to show you or to show your sellers how it's going to appear in front of them, and it's like all at the click of a button and easy to use. From anywhere, right? So it's a great program to elevate your brand, elevate the broker brands, and connect you with other luxury agents, and get more referrals and collaborate and learn and grow with them.
Yeah. Keri, your experience with it, with the luxury side of it?
Well, thanks to Dan, we've been getting some really high-end listings, and what it's helped us do, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, is just have a little more confidence to go after those listings. So we have a 12 million, a 6 million, a 5 million. We're just getting higher and higher price points, and so what I will share with you, if you're interested in going down that luxury path, EXP has a platform that makes it really easy to do it and makes it really easy to execute on incredible marketing for your listings. If something we said today resonated, even if in the past you didn't understand it or you were unsure, I want to encourage you to reach back out to whoever sent you this video so you can get your questions answered and have more clarity in the decision you're about to make.
Yeah. Hopefully you can see not all brokerages are the same. Even EXP is different than it was 5 years ago. So if you're in that mindset of figuring out what could be best for you, not only for you, but for your family and your future, reach out to us today.